It is 7 o'clock and we will get started. Good evening, everyone. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to our first official school board meeting of the new school year here. This meeting is of the Board of Education has changed to a virtual meeting. We are still remaining as a virtual meeting due to Governor Whitmer's Executive Order 2020-154, which talks about alternative means to conduct government business during the COVID-19 pandemic, and Executive Order 2020-160, which still limits statewide indoor gatherings for non-school employees, which is us, to 10 people or less. So that is why we have to remain in this remote setting until she changes that. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business. It is not to be considered a public community meeting. There are times for public participation during the meeting as indicated in agenda items 4 and 8. There's a button labeled Q&A. It's at the bottom of your screen. If you haven't joined us before, you can and ask us questions there. As usual, please make sure to include your full name, whether you are a parent, teacher, whatever, what building you're associated with, and your email address, because sometimes we don't get to all the questions during the meeting, and we want to make sure we can contact you after the meeting to answer your question if we don't get to it during the meeting. So please make sure that you include that information if you have a question. And with that said, roll call, Ms. Garrick.
Ms. Featheringill.
Here.
Ms. Garrick here. Mr. Hawkins.
Here.
Mr. Johnston.
Here.
Ms. Owen.
Here.
Ms. Pierce.
Here.
Ms. Pinter.
Here.
Great. Just as a reminder, in this virtual format, we do have to vote by roll call. So you may wonder why we're taking roll call so many times. That is why. We do have a couple things we're voting on tonight, so that will apply. On to approval of the agenda. Anyone have any questions or a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move we approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Johnston, support by Ms. Owen. Ms. Garrick.
Ms. Garrick, yes. Mr. Hawkins.
Yes.
Mr. Johnston.
Yes.
Ms. Owen.
Yes.
Ms. Pierce.
Yes.
Ms. Pinter.
Yes.
Ms. Featheringill.
Yes.
Questions and comments from the audience on agenda items? I don't see any in the queue right now, so we will move on to the consent agenda, which consists of approving the minutes of the August 24th, 2020 regular meeting. Under human resource matters, we have requested changes in instructional staff and requested changes in non-instructional staff. And under business office matters, we have checks payable. I'd like to ask Mr. Medune to address the changes in instructional and non-instructional staff.
Okay, so I'll deal with the instructional staff first. We had several changes that were made. We had Deanna Treadway, who left the district after 6 years of service to the district. And then we had several teachers that Amanda Mitchell, Lisa Heiser, Jacqueline Barrett, and Mark Scarborough, who all had been here for a year. They had been, if you remember the names, those teachers had been laid off earlier in the year in the first layoff. When we tried to come to recall them because we needed more people, they already accepted other jobs. So that's what happened with those people. And with those people leaving, and with the numbers that we had, we ended up hiring a slew of new teachers. So we have Stacy Flynn, who was hired at McBride as a resource room teacher. Tiffany Kelly was recalled to Belleville High School as a math teacher. Laura Fleming was recalled from a layoff to work at Owen Intermediate School. Jonathan Myers is a new hire as a chemistry teacher at Belleville High School. Lori Puma was hired as an elementary teacher at Tyler. Nicholas Parambo was also hired at Belleville High School as a math teacher. Kristen Smith was hired at Edgemont as a fourth grade teacher. Anthony Plocha was hired at Belleville High School as a science teacher, and Emily Mills was hired at Belleville High School as an English teacher. This is because a lot of these hires were because of numbers, and we wanted to try to make sure that we try to give our teachers the best class sizes and our students the best class sizes we had, and it was necessary for us to recall and hire these people.
I think part of it was the 60-40 split of in-person and remote caused us to have more teachers than if they would have been all in person or all remote for that matter. But it caused an extra staffing because they don't come in nice, neat little packages. So we moved some people around to save a teacher here and a teacher there, but it did end up costing more teachers to be hired.
And then for the non-instructional staff, we had several retirements. Denise Week, who was been working in the transportation, she had 31 years of service to the district, and that's a lot of years to work with those kids and be in the transportation. I wish her well in her retirement. And Teresa Caudell was also in transportation. She left after 21 years of service.
And they knew every kid and every route too. So
yes.
It was a big loss.
Right. And then on top of that, we are still continuing to try to hire more custodians and whatnot. So also you see a Jesse Clemens, who was hired into plant operations as a custodian. And we have Brett Roebuck, who was hired into plant operations as for grounds. So as we're trying to build up our custodial forces, we're also hiring there also.
Great. Thank you for all of those updates. I appreciate it. Lots of changes, but also lots of positive additions to our Van Buren staff. So welcome to all of our new teachers and our new plant operations staff. We're happy to have you. With that said, any other questions on the consent agenda or a motion to approve?
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Owen, support by someone's dog, and also Ms. Pinter. So Ms. Garrick.
Mr. Hawkins,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston,
Yes.
Ms. Owen,
Yes.
Ms. Pierce,
Yes.
Ms. Pinter,
Yes.
Ms. Featheringgill,
Yes.
Ms. Garrick, yes.
All right, we have no separate check approval this evening, so moving on to administrative items. Number one is material testing proposal information. Mr. Williams.
Good evening. So tonight we wanted to get to you guys information on material testing consultant for the bond program. As you see in your board packet, we just have a bid tabulation for you guys, not a full-blown packet because we're still going through our vetting process. But I wanted to get it to you for information also, that way at the next meeting when we come to you guys with bid pack 1 recommendation, we could come to you with this recommendation as well, because they're both time sensitive. So we wanted to make sure that we got this to 2 board meetings. So I'm going to go over a brief outline summary of where we are today with it. On August 7th, a formal RFP was issued to 6 firms who specialize in material testing and construction projects. We received proposals on August 20th from 4 of the firms. All 4 of the firms are qualified and have experience in the services rendered. The bid proposals included personnel hourly rates and daily rates, lab test cost, and projected budget for the anticipated services. So we got post-bid interviews scheduled for Thursday, 9/17 with Intertech PSI and G2 Consulting. So once we conduct those, we'll come to you guys with a formal recommendation for approval at the 9/28 board meeting. The recommendation is going to be based on the firm the bond team feels will provide VBPS with the best services for the Early Childhood Center. And one note here is the projected budgets provided by the firms and their proposals are based on their best guess for how the sequence of construction will go. The selected firm will be contacted on an as-needed basis by Granger Construction during the course of the construction, and the selected firm will bill on a time and material basis based on the number of times on site and the duration of the time spent on site. So that's kind of the basis of the overall project. And one thing to note too, that this is only for Series 1, the Early Childhood Center. It's not for the Series 2 and Series 3.
James, can you dumb down for those of us who don't build buildings exactly what a material testing firm does? What are they testing? What types of materials? Can you just give me like a little summary for someone who's not in that field?
Yeah, so what they'll do is they'll test the well, we've already conducted some soil borings, but they will, once we actually start to move soils around, they will actually test that material, and then we start bringing in the new material, bringing in the new aggregate. So say the architect specs a 21 AA, which is a stone mix, they will verify that what the contractor's putting in is a 21 AA, and they are putting 8 inches of stone in and verifying those things in the concrete specs. So they will do core samples and slump tests for the concrete when it's being placed, and then they'll verify the specifications with the materials that are on site with what the architects designed to.
Okay, so there's sort of a quality control piece that comes in and
Correct.
says what you said you were going to use is actually what you're using, and it's the right material for this project.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And one thing he said in his, especially at the beginning when he was talking about we're bringing this to you now just for information. Next time it's going to be to approve with a recommendation. The other thing that's happened next time, as he mentioned, was bid pack 1. So that's when we mentioned the last couple meetings that one we're not going to be doing 2 meetings for just because of the time. So it's not, we can't get it to you soon enough to have two meetings on it. And if we did do 2 meetings, that puts us up against, they need to get certain things done before the frost hits.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that one, we've kind of known all along since the start how this timing was happening, that one was going to have to be a one approval. I don't have any other ones of those that's an issue. We're just up against it with the weather.
Yeah.
So next week, there's also bid pack 1 that we're going to be, having you see the first time and approval.
Yeah. And I'm fine with that. We still have the opportunity to ask questions and have them answered. And
Yep. And if you're not comfortable with it, we just push it off and we deal with that.
yep.
Yeah, and we did have a good turnout as far as receiving proposals and all the categories that went out in bid pack 1. And so everything seems to be in line on that as well.
Excellent. Does anyone have any other questions for James on this? Okay, then again, this is just for information tonight, and we will vote on it at the next meeting. So thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
Moving on to wireless hotspots purchase, Mr. Garland.
So I've actually bringing 2 different things to you tonight. Both are related to getting some internet connectivity out to some of our students that may be in need, maybe not have the connectivity at home already, particularly in the instance that we may get shut down and go full remote if we backpedal into a worse phase than where we're at now. So the first one is some hotspot purchases AT&T has developed a program for school districts to take part in where they're providing hotspots at $20 a month for unlimited data that is also passed through SIPA compliant filters. SIPA is the Child Internet Protection Act. By maintaining compliance with SIPA, we protect our federal funding. So they are going to do all of that work for us on these hotspots. They're also going to provision them. They're going to deliver them to me. I'll tag them and then figure out who needs them and get them to them. So the cost per month is $20 per device. That includes the hardware. We can cancel the service at any time, but the hardware cost is actually prorated across the 2 years of the program. So if we cancel early, we're on the hook for the remainder of the hardware cost for each of those devices that we cancel early. So our total cost per month will be $4,000 for 200 hotspots. And again, we can cancel service at any time. We just have to pay that remainder of the hardware costs. So we're looking to get approval to purchase 200 hotspots. And once we get them in, determine, hopefully starting with the most in need and work our way back towards and getting everyone some kind of internet connectivity. So the total cost over the 2 years will be $98,000, of which will come out of the 2020-2021 equipment budget. And then there's possibilities for some COVID-19 emergency funding to cover it once we review the purchase for eligibility.
And Sean, I should have asked you this before. Can we pay the equipment cost up front if we want?
I don't believe so. I believe it is no, in fact, I know we can't because they do a fun little accounting game where they charge us $3.55 and then credit us $3.55 each month for each device, each piece of hardware, so that they have their accounting pieces that they can track to make sure that is all happening. So I don't believe we can adjust that, but it is a question I can call and ask.
Yeah, because if we could theoretically use some of the COVID money that we already have for that.
Right. Yep, I will make that call.
So these are essentially going into the homes.
They are,
students.
They're a small cellular wireless device. It'll put out a wireless signal in the home, and then it'll use cellular data to connect to the internet. The one downside to them, of course, is if you live in an area where cellular service is not great, they're not going to help. It is what it is. It's the world of the cellular business.
They'll have to get to a spot that they do have a signal.
Yeah.
Right.
It's better than not having something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The pricing for all of this comes off of pre-bid contracts, the NASPO contracts, which we participate in.
Do you have any indication, not to put you on the spot, but of how many families need this right now? Is 200 a round number, or
sort of? So when we had the surveys go out for, are you going in person, are you going remote? One of the questions asked was, if you had to be remote, do you have a device? Do you have internet service? So based on the replies to that, both for in-person and remote learners, we hit right around 105, give or take one or two, that said, I don't have internet. We padded that, of course, because you never know. But also there's the potential that number is actually high, because when we took those surveys, people who chose remote may have gone out and said, well, now that I'm remote, I need to get some kind of service. Sorry, gotta get rid of the cat.
We've also been pushing the Comcast component to $10 a month.
Yeah. So in the deployments, one of the things we talked about was to really kind of encourage them towards some of those inexpensive services that they may be able to procure on their own, and then determining real needs and getting those things out to the people that are truly in need of them.
So,
John, is there a maintenance fee or anything after the 2 years?
Nope.
Or what after 2 years is done?
At the end of 2 years, we can decide to terminate the whole thing, and we've met our obligations for the hardware. So at that point, we actually own the hardware, and we can just terminate the service. And then down the road, if we suddenly decide we need some hotspots, we can activate them and get new service without having to buy hardware again.
Okay.
They won't do it for just a year,
No, the minimum deal is a 2-year agreement.
and you pay for all of them, whether you use them or not.
You pay for the devices whether you use them all or not, but you can cancel the service at any time.
Okay.
So the cost goes down. It's about, I want to say it's 88-ish dollars per device for the total cost of it if you were to buy it outright. And so depending on how far into the service agreements you get, the remaining cost is prorated for what's left on what you haven't paid for or what they haven't credited for you for already. So they spread the hardware cost over the 2 years, month by month. And
Like a
then,
cell phone.
so whenever you cancel, you're on the hook for the rest of the hardware cost.
So are they
But once
making
you
you
own the
buy a
phone.
minimum of 200?
No,
So we don't want to start at 100 and add if we need to? Or they
Based
We
won't
on
want
let
to make sure we get them because we don't know for how long they're going to be available for as part of it.
yeah. One of the conversations I had with AT&T was much like all of the rest of the computer things in the world right now, if you don't get in line now, you may not get any.
Okay.
So if we end up needing more than the initial order, we may be locked out in the cold.
Right. That was my only question too, was about the number of them, but it sounds like it's an opportune time to buy them. Okay. So we are committing at this point. So Sean, I'm sorry to
That's okay.
regurgitate. The $20 per month per hotspot, we still pay that even if we're only using 100 of them.
Correct.
We're going to pay $20 a month for 200.
Yeah.
It's all rolled into the price of the whole package.
Right.
Okay.
And then as we progress through within these first few months, we'll get a really good idea of what our need is initially. The other thing that they're offering as part of this is over the summer, between school years on the 2-year contract, they go into a pause where we don't pay for the data plan and we still get the hardware credit.
Okay.
So in theory, we're getting 20, what would it be? It'd actually be 30 months because we get a 3-month hiatus in between, or I'm sorry, 27 months.
Will we be paying the $20 a month or will the family?
That's a cost we'll take.
Because the assumption, Simone, would be that if they can't afford to pay $10 a month or whatever it is through Comcast, you know, or whatever some of these places are offering, then they're in a situation where they just can't afford it at all.
I've also had several conversations with Comcast regarding that $10 a month plan to see if that was something we could provide at our cost. And in having some conversations with other network directors throughout other school districts, everybody's shying away from doing that. Comcast will send us the bill. They have no problems us paying the $10 a month, but they won't provide any kind of filtering, and I have no ability to filter them. And so we put with no SIPA compliant filtering, we put our federal funding at risk because we're providing wide open internet to students.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
So anyone in the home could theoretically access this, but it's going to have a filter.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And then beyond the 2 years, Sean, this equipment is still viable. It's still useful to us after the 2-year period if we were to need it.
It should be good. I would say 3 to 4 years max.
Yeah.
But yes, we should be able to continue. You know, it's going to be, you know, within a year, it's going to be a little behind already.
Right.
Just the nature of the beast, but it'll be viable for the educational needs we're trying to provide. You know, you're not going to want to sit on it with 10 machines streaming Netflix, but it's going to provide what we need to do education.
Okay.
Is there a time limit on it? I mean, that it works during certain hours, not so we're providing internet for people.
We're providing 24-hour internet service. Yep.
Because they might be doing homework at night or they might be doing a lot of different things. So the idea they would have that opportunity.
Yeah.
We're really going to rely on the fact that the SIPA compliant filters really are going to take down some of the stuff that they're going to want to use it for that's not educational, and they're not going to plug into these things to try and use them instead of some other form of internet access for their own use.
Yeah.
And that was one of the issues, and I think you kind of touched on this, Sean, was at one point we talked about getting Comcast and just us getting the Comcast for them, but then it wouldn't have the filters. So they're now unfiltered, which I think you just said this, right?
Yep.
I was totally paying attention.
Any other questions for Sean?
Just one more. If these devices aren't returned, is there a cost to the district?
Well, we'll not additional costs. We're purchasing them. In essence, they're ours. If we lose them, we lose them. It's on us that we've lost them. AT&T is not going to charge us anything extra. They're not expecting us to return the hardware at any point. They're expecting that if we go the full 2 years with it, the hardware is just ours. And if we cancel early, then we buy the hardware from them, the remaining cost.
And that said,
I was thinking if somebody moves, if somebody moves and doesn't return it, something like that, then either another one.
We would be out
if
that
we take it with
hotspot
us
if we couldn't get it. Sorry, I apologize. We'd be out that
That's okay.
hotspot
Sorry.
if we couldn't retrieve it from them. And we have that same issue with Chromebooks on occasion. They move out of state even, and we don't get it back. We don't know they're gone. It's just a device I can't retrieve at that point. It's a cost we have to absorb.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm guessing you could shut someone's service off at any time.
Absolutely. As soon as it becomes lost or missing to me, I can disable it.
Okay.
Then it's just a piece of hardware that eats electricity.
Right. Okay. Well, I certainly trust your judgment on these things, Sean, and thank you for all the research you've done. Any other questions? Okay. I move that the Van Buren Public Schools Board of Education approve the Wi-Fi hotspot purchase from AT&T at a total cost not to exceed $98,000 over the next 2 years as presented.
Support.
Motion by Ms. Pierce, support by, I think that was Ms. Pinter.
Ms. Garrick.
Oh, Ms. Garrick, I'm sorry. I look for people's mouths to move. Ms. Garrick, I will let you do the roll call.
Mr. Johnston.
Yes.
Ms. Owen.
Yes.
Ms. Pierce.
Yes.
Ms. Pinter.
Yes.
Ms. Featheringale.
Yes.
Ms. Garrick, yes. Mr. Hawkins.
Yes.
All right. Well, how soon can we get those, Sean?
AT&T should, I actually have the orders ready to go. It shouldn't be too long at all. I don't have an exact ETA. They have to provision and prep them for the SIP of the compliant filtering, and then they'll ship them out.
Great. Well, that'll be really great to have those in the homes of the students that need them the most. So thank you for that. And we will let you keep on talking about parking lot Wi-Fi access points and installation purchase.
My wife's worst nightmare, letting me keep on talking.
Right.
So the next one is actually kind of a creative solution for those instances where maybe the hotspots won't do it. They can't get internet in any other manner. We did some work with Sentinel, one of our vendors that we've partnered with several times, to come up with a plan to actually broadcast the wireless signal from the buildings out across parking lots. The initial design was sort of built around the high school. So the way it works is we purchase some wireless access points along with external antennas. Now, normally when we buy access points, they go in the ceiling in a classroom and they have what's called an omnidirectional antenna. It broadcasts the circle, a signal in a circle around the hotspot. The way these work, it actually shoots it across directionally in a cone, and it can go out to almost 300 feet across the parking lot. The return signal is where the limitations start falling into place. So the Chromebooks antennas are not powerful enough to come back 300 feet, but they're plenty powerful to sit out in the parking lot in the first few spaces away from the building and catch the signal and be able to function. So we'd be able to provide internet service for them to drive up, sit in the parking lot for, half hour, pull down their homework assignments that they need, upload any assignments that they've completed, and then they go home and work on what they have downloaded. So it's really kind of a neat solution in that these access points that we purchase can also be repurposed once we're done with this whole scenario anywhere in our district. We can put them up in a classroom. All we have to do is buy the omnidirectional antennas to attach to it instead of the directionals. So the cost of the hardware is recoverable. In particular, we're kind of pointing that at the ECDC building. We're going to buy these things for that building anyways. This is like a pre-purchase for that whole scenario. So we'll be able to recover that hardware cost really quickly once we get past the COVID scenarios. The hardware and the labor to configure and get them rolling is all going to be purchased through Sentinel. We've done several projects with them in the past. They've done a really nice job for us. My team will be in place to help them get them hung on the walls and pointed in the right places.
And one of the things that this comes into play for, the main reason we're thinking this, is planning just in case, as Sean said last time, we switch phases and now we're in phase 3 and we have to do full remote for everybody. We're starting to think about that. And if that happens, we don't want to be caught unprepared. So this is one of those things that we could provide and say, okay, as Sean said, come in, upload your stuff, download your stuff, get back to your house, work on it, come back and do the same thing over again if needed. So this is going to be a few different of the buildings.
Yeah, there's enough equipment laid out in here that depending on how much of each parking lot we want to light up, we could do anywhere from 2 buildings to 4 buildings, depending on how wide a swath we want to cover.
And the concept sounds strange, but we've been doing it at U of M for the hospital. When we first went into this in March, that's how we deployed laptops to all the doctors and nurses that got sent home very quickly. We did it from our parking lot at Arbor Lakes to get them up and going and out because we didn't want them having to come through the building for it. So it's worked really well there in our lot. So, and they're still using it for break fix for the school and the hospital.
So these would be placed in, did you say just maybe 4 parking lots to start?
We really haven't nailed down locations and quantity yet as far as how much of the lots we want to do. The initial thought was to get the parking lots, the staff and bus parking lots at the high school, some combination of that, and then maybe a couple other buildings around the district, because it should be.
We lost you, Sean. It should be, and then we lost him.
Yeah, we got it should be, but then we couldn't hear you after that.
Sorry, my machine randomly mutes itself occasionally. You know, tech guy with tech problems is no.
Yeah, that's your wife. Exactly.
I hope she's not watching. So what I was saying was that there 3 to 4 access points should cover most of the high school's parking lot there, and that leaves 2 to 4, 2 for 2 other buildings each. We should be able to do roughly 3 buildings is my thoughts, but we don't necessarily have to go spread them out that much. We could light up more of one building or spread it out to more buildings with smaller swaths. It really, we've got some flexibility there.
We want to think geographically too.
Yeah.
Around our district a little bit. Maybe Rawsonville and Tyler might make sense. Or
That's
something.
what I was just thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Who live in the edges of our community. If they live near the middle, they could come to the high school. Right?
Yep.
So a high school kid to go to any one of them to do their work.
So this will cover the people who don't have internet, don't have hotspots. How many of them will there be if we're giving out hotspots and they have internet?
We don't know. We just want to have another option for if we go 100% remote, that number is going to jump because a lot of people, the people that did not fill out the survey were the people who were coming in person. Mm-hmm. We don't know about them.
Yeah, and this plan, while there's a pretty decent sized price tag to it, the funds that we're spending on this are all recoverable elsewhere pretty much immediately. If suddenly we decide this is not what we need to use these for, we're not losing money, we're not wasting money, we can put it elsewhere and it'll be useful. It'll be things we have to buy anyhow for building the ECDC building.
The other use that could be for it is if somebody's, Belleville has several power outages lately, somebody's house has no internet that day, they can go hop into the parking lot and use it from there for that day while power is being restored or the internet's down. So it's those, brief ones that you weren't planning for. We had people that come in and do that at work as well.
Yeah.
Good point.
If you can get on TikTok, my kid will be sitting in the parking lot all day long.
There's
filters for that.
I know.
These hotspots will actually flow through our network, through our SIPA compliant filters that do block TikTok.
Okay. Addie will be disappointed to hear that.
He knows how to rain on a parade, doesn't he?
That's right.
Facebook, Twitter, all that.
That's right.
I'm
Nobody cares about Facebook anymore. It's only for old people now, Simone.
Right.
Well, it should all be educational, not we're paying for your free internet so you can surf the web.
TikTok is very educational.
I've seen some.
All right. Any other questions for Sean on the Wi-Fi access points? Okay. A motion?
I move that the Van Buren Public Schools Board of Education approve the parking lot Wi-Fi access points and installation purchase from Sentinel Technologies at a total cost of $12,572 as presented.
Motion by Ms. Owens, support by Mr. Hawkins, I believe that was. Ms. Garrick.
Ms. Owen.
Yes.
Ms. Pierce.
Yes.
Ms. Pinter.
Yes.
Ms. Featheringgill.
Yes.
Ms. Garrick, yes. Mr. Hawkins.
Yes.
Mr. Johnston.
Yes.
All right. No other administrative items this evening. I see one thing.
One question.
Yeah, she has one question about the hotspots. When we get the Chromebooks, we sign a contract that will pay for the Chromebook. If we lose it, can the same thing be done for the hotspots if they are not returned?
We, if I may answer, I was about to type an answer to her. We'll have something in place very similar. We just have to work out. We haven't had any conversations yet if there's going to be what the dollar fee will be, if any. But there'll be contracts they have to sign. We'll track who has what, and we'll be expecting them back.
Great. All right. That looks like the only other question. So on to cabinet member reports. Let's see where my little Brady Bunch screen is. Mr. Medune, you are first.
Yay!
You're the line leader.
Just a lot of staffing, as you can tell from the instructional and whatnot, just making sure that we were staffed correctly that way. I also have met with our, I have been going around with our VBES president, Crystal, and meeting with separate groups. So I had a meeting with me and Mr. Williams had a meeting with the custodians just for them to be able to talk to us about any issues they're having or anything. So we, just so they can hear, have a voice to hear some, to know that we're listening. And I also met with, met with another group, can't remember which one. I met with the custodians twice, actually. Just giving them an opportunity to talk to us about things going on. But staffing has been in daily meetings with our VBEA president, making sure they're up on all aspects of what's going on with the staffing and numbers and how many students are in each classroom, talking to them almost on a daily basis just to make sure we're all on the same page and trying to work out any issues ahead of time.
You want to talk about the redeployment?
Yes. So the redeployment. So we have, because some of our bus runs go to other districts. So we have special programs at other school districts. Well, some of those school districts are not open right now. They're fully remote and they won't be open to end in October. So our transportation department bid on these routes that usually would have started on the first day of school, but now they have to wait till in October or so before they could actually run the route. So we were trying to figure out a solution where we could, we didn't want to lose the drivers because if we lose the drivers, we'll never get them back. And so what we ended up doing is working out something with the union, and Mr. Williams made Mr. Williams happy, Pete happy, and everybody's happy, where essentially we were able to redeploy those people. We gave them the option. We didn't force somebody to do anything. So basically, while they're waiting for those other routes to become available and they can go out to these other districts, we're using them back in the buildings during the day to help with cleaning. So what would happen is that they would hit the high touch points, that's, you know, the regular things during the day that people need to make sure that the building is kept sanitized and whatnot. We were able to get about 12 people that way, and they're going back in the buildings to help clean. So it helped the custodians out, helped the buildings out, and it allowed us to make sure our employees still were able to keep getting their income, and until we actually use them back as drivers. So it was a nice little solution that I think we all worked out.
Some of them are bus aides too, but they're both drivers and bus aides.
Yep.
That's great. I love the idea, and I love that it preserves their positions, which is great for them. Obviously, it helps Mr. Williams' team, so that's just great all around. Good.
It's also good for us too, because drivers are hard to find.
Yes.
Drivers are impossible to find.
Yes, exactly.
We have a great group of drivers, so we don't want to lose any of them to anybody.
Right.
Yep.
Good job.
That's great. And we don't know, those other districts are saying they might go back in October, but we don't know. So it's really important to, to hold on to those.
They're reassessing is
right, valuable employees. So thank you. Anything else, Abdul?
That's it for right now.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, you've been busy. Yep. Ms. Johnston.
All right. So it was very exciting. I was so excited about the first day of school. I know that sounds silly, but it's just nice to have everybody. We've been planning it for so long. It was nice to have everybody there and be able to see our students was very much fun for me. I spent a lot of time at McBride and Edgemont today in classes, just seeing what was going on. So that to me was very exciting. It's nice to have everybody back. You know, a full district is a nice thing, or semi-full district.
Right.
To happen. Spent a lot of time just calling parents and talking with parents about their concerns as we roll out remote, which is different for most of us in a lot of ways, and especially in the special ed world, and how does that look, and talking with my teachers, trying to figure out the best ways to manage all of our caseloads. And I'm very thankful for all the special ed staff who have been more than flexible in 1,000 ways. They are doing things that most teachers are most of the general ed teachers are teaching either remotely or in person. Most of my special ed staff is doing both jobs. And so they are working on figuring out how to coordinate best with both remote teachers and in-person teachers, and making sure that all of our kids get all the things they need. So I'm very thankful for how hardworking and how excited they are about living this new life that they're going to live this year. I also really want to thank the Rotary Club. They have some supplies to use for the year, so I am appreciative to the Rotary Club for contacting us, and probably contacting us again because we were super busy this summer, and saying, hey, what do you need? How else can we help? I'm very thankful for that also. So looking forward to a fun-filled year.
Thank you. Sarah.
All right, so I have been taking a look at the various types of coronavirus funding sources we have access to. There are a lot of them. There's like the GEER and ESSER. I don't know what all of those stand for. I probably should, but I don't know yet. And the Coronavirus Relief Fund, that's the biggest one we have access to. And a lot of them are still changing the guidelines about them. So it's very confusing what all can be spent on which things. So we're kind of needing to kind of figure out what we can spend in what pot, basically.
And by when. Some of them have different.
And by when, yes. Like the Coronavirus Relief Fund, which is our biggest source of money, that was about $350 per pupil that's coming in. That one has to be spent by the end of December. And we are just now getting guidance on how that can be spent. That to me is crazy. I'm hoping that they relax those guidelines a bit.
Yeah.
They did do just last week. They made it, there's some legislation that talked about they will assume up to $500 per pupil being spent on just opening school back up. And so it actually said so that you don't technically need to be able to show what was spent with those funds, and yet it's still federal dollars. So that means it's still subject to extra auditing requirements. So I can't just say, yeah, we spent $1.5 million on opening school. We probably did, but we need to be able to justify what we spent that on. So like Sean's hotspots and lighting up the parking lots and things like that, and any of the extra Chromebook purchases we bought. We also did like extra supplies for a lot of the buildings. And so I talked to the buildings and I said, okay, so if you would normally have only bought 3 boxes of crayons for your classroom this year, or for a normal year, but this year you had to buy 20 boxes of crayons, those extra boxes are totally justifiable as we just bought those because of coronavirus. Mm-hmm. So that kind of thing can be spent on those funds as well.
So a lot of those funds have strings attached. They only can be used for things. So we want to make sure that we're spending that money first on things that are accountable for those, that meet the qualifications for those, before we spend out of regular general fund.
Right.
Would we be able to put the $76,000 for cleaning supplies in there?
Absolutely, yes.
Yep.
Yes. So those I'm already kind of tracking separately, just so we could easily move those funds right into the coronavirus relief fund once we've decided what piece is going to go into which part.
A lot of the stuff that James did as far as the portable hand washing stations and filling things,
all of what James bought basically is already in its own separate pot, because I knew everything that James did and a lot of what Denise did as well.
Yeah.
Sarah? Yeah. Is that $500 per student? Is that only students that are in the building enrolled, or is it
nope,
the online
per people
too?
total?
Okay.
Total. Because really we spent a lot on getting school up and running for our remote kids too. We had to buy them Chromebooks. We're doing all of these hotspots. We're doing things like that. We also gave remote kids supplies this year.
Some different curriculum material.
Yep. We like band. The band bought a different curriculum program to use for their online classes. So that can be charged there. I've also
even some of these extra teachers that we're talking about. It's like,
yes, we could charge some of the extra teachers. The thing with the teachers is they are a full year expense, but that coronavirus relief fund can only be spent through December. So they can't really be charged to that fund.
Not all year.
They're going to be a full year. But they could possibly be charged to that the ESSER funds, because that is spendable through next September.
Or the gear money.
Yes, or the gear money, yes. So there's a lot of moving pieces, and it's still moving, and we're just right now getting guidance on it after we're already up and running. And so we're kind of then going to have to reshuffle and move things around. So I had a little conversation with the auditors about it today, just to verify that my line of thinking of how I want to kind of think about moving some of those things is a good way of thinking about it. And so she was in agreement with what we've kind of talked about so far. So I think we're for it. We just need to know which pieces we're going to move. So.
And while it's your turn talking, that a crazy thing that's happening in Sarah's world right now is that it's September 14th and school's in session. We've hired all our teachers. We're buying all these supplies. Everything's going on, and we have no idea what our foundation allowance is for this year.
Yep.
So
and that's crazy. How on earth do we know?
And of all years, normal years, it's crazy. But right now, we're required to keep our kids safe and buy all this extra stuff that we're doing, even from these hotspots and the lighting up our parking lot. Just 2 small pieces of that, let alone all the PPE and equipment that we're buying. And we have no idea. It's really blind. It's flying blind. These are things we absolutely have to do to have kids in buildings, and to have staff in the buildings. So we're doing them, but we do not know what it's going to look like at the other end of it, because they cut us by a whole bunch, by how much per kid. They could give us extra money per kid. We have no idea what this is going to look like.
Yep.
And we don't know how many kids yet.
And we don't know how many kids. Yes.
Yeah.
And the way we're calculating this year's kids is just really messy.
Yeah, a lot of different moving pieces, but it is not it's really not all that responsible of our leaders in Lansing to not have a number yet. It's not.
No.
It's something that they need to get on. They need to get us a number. They should have had us a number, sooner than this.
Yeah.
And we're all the districts in the state are flying blind right now, and it's not a comfortable feeling.
It's really not. I mean, fortunately, last year came in better than what we anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
So we did budget for a 550 loss last year, and we didn't get that.
Right. $550 per kid loss.
Yes. So we didn't get that. So we're in a better position than what we thought we would be.
We only got $170 loss, I think, right? So
yeah, 175, I think it was.
I think you're right.
But not knowing this year, I mean, that could be a huge cut this year, and we don't know what that is. We budgeted for a 550 again for this year, so hopefully it won't be anything more than that, but we really don't know.
And if it was maybe if we got a $300 increase per kid, we would be doing other things to help support.
Yes.
I mean, just like this is affecting us on both sides.
Yeah, when I had the conversation with the auditors today, and I was talking about the coronavirus funds and all of that, she said, you could just send like one bus per kid and use all that extra money to buy buses. And I said,
we should. They're going to be on sale.
My board won't let me do that.
Yes, we would, because they're going to be on sale. Nobody's selling now.
Somebody, I'm glad this is recorded. We're going to play this back. We're going to play this back to Simone next time we want to buy buses.
Buy them now, because they're going to be cheap right now.
Right. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that we are distributing lunches for remote learners every day at the high school from 3 to 4. It's being done in a different entrance than we used in the spring. So if anybody's coming, make sure you follow the loop around to the back of the building. It's the door D2, which is like the West Athletic entrance. And then also, in order for us to plan more efficiently for that, we do require that parents register for any day that they're going to be coming to pick up. And our form can be found on our district website under food service.
Now, is this only for students, or like in the spring where it was for Van Buren children?
It's technically any kids under 18. Yeah. Technically, it doesn't even need to be our district students, but we do require them to still go on our district website to register.
Great.
Do you need volunteers for this like you needed in the spring, or do you have enough staff to cover it?
Yeah, I mean, that was part of why we're doing it daily. That has been a question that we've been asked. We just don't have the people, and we don't have the space, because when we did it in the spring, we basically used the entire cafeteria for all of the packing of all of that food.
And the entire freezer and refrigerator, too.
And the entire freezer and refrigerator, yes. And so we don't have access to that because we still have in-person learners as well. So we don't have room for it to all happen. So it's on a daily basis. So like today, there were about 180 lunches that were registered for. So that was manageable by just Karen's team of people. So we're doing pretty good with it.
I put up my picture so people could see how full the cafeteria got when you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty packed in there.
I'm having flashbacks.
We can't use it.
Yeah. There were a lot of tables and a lot of lunch bags out there. So.
Yep,
Yes,
and it stayed up all week that way.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Sarah.
Yep.
Mr. Williams, do you have anything else this evening?
Yeah, just to touch base a little bit more on the bond program again. So we did receive bids for bid pack 1 on Friday, which they all seem to be in line with our budget to date of what we budgeted through the DD estimate. So I did sit on 7 post-bid interviews throughout the day today, and I think we have 7 more tomorrow because we had a good bid turnout. And then in addition to that, last Thursday, I sat in on a page-by-page turn page of the construction documents for the bid pack 2. So we reviewed them with the small part of the bond team and just went through and made any adjustments that we needed to those documents.
And just so you know, he got the short straw because none of us wanted to do that. That was when we saw what those kind of things were going to look like. They were detailed drawings and like schematics and where ductwork was going to be. And James was getting all excited and the rest of us pretty much fell asleep. But definitely we had the right person at that meeting because that was something else. Just we sat
Susan at finance meetings.
Yeah, we went through about 120 pages in about 4 hours.
Wow.
So we're in good shape there. So we're working on that, and bid pack 2 should be ready to go out in the near future.
Great.
So if everything goes well with September 28th board meeting and this bid pack, we're hoping to mobilize around October 1st to be on site to start construction.
Are we gonna have a groundbreaking?
like a ceremony.
Yeah.
Those metal shovel, those silver shovels.
Yes, where we all wear hard hats and
each get a shovel.
Yeah.
6 feet apart.
Yeah, 6 feet apart.
Pete, I hear some cost savings with the labor on digging the foundation.
All right, we're in.
Every 6 feet, somebody.
Don knows how to talk
good.
my language.
Right, that's right. Well, I think that would be
something
cool.
like that if we
Very
want.
exciting thing. I think it would be cool to have a
would you all be
little.
interested in that? Would people?
Yes, I think it would be cool to have a little ceremony.
Okay.
I like it.
I can talk to Granger, Pete.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
they're used to that.
So, in conjunction with that sinking fund with the Edgemont and Rawsonville RTU rooftop replacement, is moving along. All materials have been procured. We're just waiting on delivery. Electricians have been on site and moving forward. So we're scheduled for the weekend of October 9th to remove and replace the rooftops at Edgemont, and the following weekend would be Rawsonville Elementary. So other than that, you know, as you guys know, spent a lot of time procuring, trying to secure materials for the district, which I feel we're in a pretty good spot right now. And we'll see how our usage goes now that we're in session and we start going through things. And you know, we plan for, when we were looking for materials, we planned for if we were fully in person. So, you know, we have a little bit of a stockpile. So as we move forward, we'll be able to make adjustments and make sure that we keep that supply on hand. And then I want to just thank my team for all their efforts the last couple of weeks, because spent a lot of time procuring all those materials, and then they spent the last 2-3 weeks getting them deployed and implemented throughout the district. So
That's great. Thank you.
Great too. Just from a normal summer cleaning stuff, as well as the signage and everything else, and the you know, from a safety standpoint as well. The buildings look great.
That's great. Thank you to everyone.
I'd like to just commend them, the department and all that as well. I haven't seen inside the buildings, but I've been hearing wonderful things. And at U of M, I kind of do that for the IT department. And every week they're sending us a new sign they want hung up at, don't drink out of this drinking fountain, you know, 6 feet here, this, that. And then different supplies they want us to have without giving us any guidance of where we could possibly find them. So anything that you can get accomplished with that is just amazing.
Yeah. Great. Mr. Kudlak, I think you're up, sir.
I just have a couple things. One of them, we had Congresswoman Dingle come by last week. She spent over an hour at McBride. I think Sean was there, I think. Were you there, Sean?
I was there, yep. I had a chance to talk to her briefly. She had some really good questions around some of the needs we had for our students, technological needs, food service needs. So it was a really nice conversation.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. It was very good back and forth. She had she needs to know what she needs to know so she can make some good decisions.
Mm-hmm. I actually saw someone from her office was on our call. Was on this.
I saw that too. Yep,
Yeah.
they're not on there now, I don't think.
Yeah, but I saw they were on for like the first half hour, 40 minutes. So
Yeah.
that's,
I think that's good getting feedback for what to know. So it's really nice having her out, and you know, she's a real person you can reach out to, and she understands our area and our district and our struggles. So we always appreciate her and her support. MASB Awards is coming up this Thursday night. Miss Featheringill is getting an award. It's a virtual. The awards are not virtual, but the meeting is virtual. The award she's going to get. It's from 6 to 7 o'clock on Thursday. I know some of you have signed up already, but that's going to be this Thursday night. We did have an excellent first day. I think as we, central office folk here, we all split up around the district and go to different schools. So I was at the high school and Owen and Tyler for the beginning of the day and end of the day. And it was, I was very impressed with everybody. I was excited how excited the staff were, how they interacted with the kids. I was excited seeing how the students were responsible. They were walking on the side of the hallway they were supposed to. At the high school, they all had masks on. It was really nice. I did talk to some teachers who reiterated that at the end of the day, how surprised they were. I also talked to a few that said, yeah, I had a couple of kids in my class who were trying to test the boundaries. But that's part of teaching and part of being a kid. So I think they took that in stride, but I think everybody was very positive after the first day. So I thought it went really well. Some transportation things, just like every other year, we have some transportation things at the beginning of the year that gets worked out. I don't think this year is any different. Some people, you might have had 3 kids on your road this last year, and this year there's only 2, so the bus stop gets moved, or maybe there's 4 now and there used to be 2, so the bus stop gets moved. And trying to find a good spot for bus stops sometimes are, we look at those and reassess all those. So that's something that I know Sarah and Elizabeth have been working a lot with, talking to parents about the bus stops. So I don't think it's any different this year than any other year of the same process that we have for that. We did have a staff member test positive, and this was before the kids came in the building. So we had one over the weekend contact us and let us know that he or she tested positive. So we took action. That person's off now, taking the protocol for 2 weeks, and will be back with us when he or she is done. So never had symptoms, but just had a test and came back positive. So that building, James and his team on Sunday, I believe, went in and cleaned everything. So we found out on Saturday, so came in, cleaned everything, and electrostatically sprayed the entire building and disinfected everything as well. Even though that person wasn't throughout the whole building, we thought it'd be best to do that. So we communicated that with the staff as well. I don't think I have anything else.
great. Thank you. Looks like Denicia commented, who's our nurse, that she was in a bunch of our buildings today too, and was very proud of our students. So that's good to hear. I think those who are in person really were needing that physical, to be there physically and to have that interaction with staff and students. So I'm glad they seem to be adhering to the new normal. I'm sure that was kind of strange for them today, but
it is. And I think, I think around this office, we all like to give Denise a hard time just because she's fun to give a hard time to, but she's done a wonderful job. She's put in a lot of extra hours, this whole summer and getting things ready and being a sounding board when we need to make decisions and being an active participant in those decisions, to talking parents and staff off the ledge to talk about what this is, what it's going to be and how it'll look. And she has a nice calm demeanor and does a wonderful job with new kids coming in or returning kids that might have some health issues to help them feel comfortable. So she's been a shining star in all this.
yes, absolutely. All right. I think that is it. I didn't forget anybody, did I? Cabinet members? All right. Moving on to items of business from members of the board. Ms. Garrick.
Hello. So I have a few fundraisers to mention for the class of 21. October 3rd from 9 to 6 at Garden Fantasy Greenhouse on Tyler Road. They're having a mum sale, 8-inch pots, $5.99 each, or 5 for $25, and 10% is going back to the senior class. You have to have the flyer, and I've been seeing it all over Facebook. They're also still doing the bottle return drive at the farmers market. They'll be there for 2 more weeks. Amy's got her blue truck there, and they just keep loading it up. Sometimes she has to have people come pick up stuff because it's so full she can't drive home. October 14th, there'll be a Dine to Donate at Culver's. Times to be determined. And there will be another food truck rally on October 1st. There's already 10 trucks. They're switching things around. They were quite surprised at the attendance last time. You'll come in by the ad building and they'll allow 49 cars at a time to go and get their stuff, and then allow more cars to go in when some leave. So lots of fun things for the great fundraisers for the class of 21.
That was October 1st?
Yes.
Okay.
4 to 8. And a lot of the trucks that were here, plus a couple more new ones, are coming. So I already know which one I'm hitting.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Johnston.
Don't have much. Just want to say thanks to Mr. Kudlak, the cabinet, the principals, teachers, bus drivers, custodians, everybody. It's been a challenging year to get school started. And I know they've all worked very, very hard to make it a smooth transaction. And I just want to tell them all thank you.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Mr. Hawkins.
I just want to second what Keith said. Staff, administrators are doing a good job the first day. Let's just keep it rolling and keep people safe.
Thank you. Ms. Feathergill.
Yes, been quiet, busy weeks leading up to all this fun. So it is nice to see that wasn't too crazy of a day today, except at my house. So trying to start out with a kindergartner and a 2nd grader, and trying to set up a room to keep them from touching each other and watching only their screens and not the other person's screen, and doing all those kind of things. That was fun. But we kept all the any kind of germs and stuff only at our house and not shared anywhere else, because they can't keep from sneezing all over each other. So that is a good thing. Why we get to stay home.
You're a good woman.
Yeah, it will be interesting. So we'll see if the crayons just stay on the paper and not on the walls, and we'll be good. So I do appreciate all those teachers that usually have to do all those kind of things. Now they only get to watch it through the screen and just laugh that the parents are doing that kind of thing, and only making sure that their connections are working and all those kind of things. So
that's right.
It's been fun. So
Ms. Owen.
Yeah, I just want to say welcome back to all the teachers, staff, and students. I know that this is a weird beginning of a school year for everybody, and we appreciate all of your hard work, and hopefully this won't last a whole lot longer. So good luck, and I'm glad to be back.
They've really done a lot to get prepared in many different ways, as we were talking about before with the budget. Getting prepared for in-person and remote. I mean, they're doing the same thing with their Google Classroom. So the time and effort and energy, to do all this for the kids when they're not feeling all that comfortable themselves. Teachers, parapros, bus drivers, everybody have really, stepped outside their comfort zone to do something that's going to be good for kids. So appreciate it.
Ms. Pincher.
I just want to thank everybody too for everything they've done. I know there's so much behind the scenes that parents just don't even realize. Today when I was at Edgemont, it looked like a fine well-oiled machine the way it was ran, so it's hard to believe there went a lot into it, but there is. Nothing goes that smoothly, let alone something that's crazy. So I appreciate everybody's hard work, and hopefully it'll be over soon.
Yeah. I was amazed at just how well things appear to have gone today, especially in person. I was briefly at the high school this morning, and I don't know what I expected to walk in and see, but I think I expected to walk in and see like an office full of kids. And I walked in and it was so quiet. I was like, wait a minute, am I here on the right day? I'm sure that's not going to be every day, but it was like the level of organization in the buildings was so great. I was really impressed. My daughter, who is an 8th grader, had an awesome first day in person. She was super excited, and especially excited to have volleyball tryouts today. So I know a lot of kids are excited about the idea of playing athletics. I'm so glad that those students who that is such a huge part of their lives, that they are able to participate in athletics. And yeah, I picked her up at 5:20 and she was asleep on the couch by about 5:30. So so I just got to get used to getting up early again. But no, thank you to everyone, both remote and in-person staff and teachers. This is unprecedented, but I'm really proud of where we're at, and just keep doing what you're doing. Didn't miss anyone, right? No. Okay. If you have any agenda items for the next meeting, you can contact Pete's office or me and let us know. Anything else tonight? All right. Motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Johnston, support by Ms. Owen. Ms. Garrick.
Ms. Owen,
Yes.
Ms. Pierce,
Yes.
Ms. Pinter,
Yes.
Ms. Featheringill,
Yes.
Ms. Garrick, yes. Mr. Hawkins,
Yes.
Mr. Johnston.
Yes.
All right, everyone. Thanks, and happy Tuesdays.